Now, Ian, one of your favourites, Minister for Climate Change Chris Bowen, he has taken to X, the social media site, to boast about a surge in electric vehicle novated leases. He says it's all thanks to Labor's EV tax cut. But is this really something to boast about? Isn't it more market manipulation to push EVs on to people who are now going into debt to lease an asset that it's going to be almost worthless at the end of that lease in some cases?
Well, that's the case. EVs lose their value quicker than anything. EVs have an awful track record of performance and resale. And Mr. Bowen should look at what's happening in the UK and in Europe. And there's a massive glut of EVs. People are moving away from EVs and back to the time-proven internal combustion engines. We've got tens of thousands of EVs lined up on wharves in Europe. These have come from China. Places like Bremerhaven, you can't actually have any more EVs there. And in Germany, the EV construction has actually slowed down. We have so many EVs floating around that people don't want to buy. And they don't want to buy them for the right reasons. They're too expensive. They depreciate at a very, very fast rate. They catch a light. They can't go very far. And if you're in the case of someone like Budget, who are renting out cars, they're totally useless. And what Budget has done is sell tens of thousands of the EVs because they cannot run a business. Actually renting out EVs, leasing EVs is the same sort of business. It will only operate if it's subsidised, and that is with your money.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, if there's such a fantastic product, you wouldn't need all these programs and subsidies and penalties on high-emission cars to try to cajole people into buying these. Now, it's all very confusing because whilst we've got Chris Bowen pushing EVs very heavily, in Germany, the lefties are protesting against EVs. Protesters are opposed to the expansion of a Tesla plant in a town near Berlin. On Friday, they clashed with police. Some of them even attempted to storm the electric vehicle manufacturing facility. Let's have a look. And what is going on? I thought the environmentalists were all loving EVs, or are they finally realising that they're not that environmentally friendly if you actually look at what goes into them?
Well, summer is coming on in Europe, in Germany, and you can see from the way people were dressed, it was warm. Many of those people have not got thick overcoats on. So this is the time for the anarcho-Marxists to start demonstrating. And they demonstrate against anything. Now, that Grünheide factory is in East Germany. East Germany needs the jobs. East Germany is still recovering from communism, which destroyed the economy. So here we've got people objecting to actually owning a car, to having freedom, to stopping the average person being able to drive when and where they want to. They want to be pleased that Germany actually has Tesla into that country because companies like BMW and Volkswagen and Mercedes and Porsche are actually cutting down the amount of production. They've been very successful with their internal combustion engines, but with their EVs, they've actually lost a lot of money. So the German people should be very pleased that someone is investing in EVs because, after all, EVs are meant to be clean, green vehicles. These people should be cheering. They shouldn't be demonstrating.
Well, they're not cheering. You saw from that footage there, they were like storming the barricades. Also, conflict in Queensland with the LNP, the Liberal National Party. The different factions there have got a showdown coming up between the moderates and the Conservatives at the party's annual state conference. And the big issue seems to be, Ian, the parliamentary party's support of Labor's 75% emission reduction target by 2035, a very bold target indeed. Rank and file party members are said to be absolutely irate with that, as are several federal MPs. How do you see this clash resolving? It seems like they're determined to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory here. Have they not learned anything from the rabble we've got down here in Victoria?
Well, there's something in the water in Queensland because the Labor Party's having a massive fight at present between the loopy left trying to ease out the right, and they have agreements where various positions go to the left and right. They're having a massive fight, and the LNP are having a massive fight. And in the LNP's case, it's the death wish. If you want to lose an election, show that you've got some division. Now, we have now the LNP is saying, look, we don't want to have net zero on the political agenda. We want to be the same as the Labor clowns. And so we're going to have the same policy. And that means that you can't vote us out on net zero grounds. They need to stand up and have some principle. They need to say, we are different. Yeah. We don't want to send Queensland broke. We have Queensland, an energy exporting state. We need to actually use coal and use gas. So we have people, and I wouldn't call them the moderates, I'd say those with common sense in their LNP are actually trying to stop those who are siding with the loopy left and saying, well, yes, we should go down the net zero path. And the people who have got common sense in the LNP are saying, we want to be a party where we are different. We don't want to have a twiddle-dee and twiddle-dum election. We want to have an election based on two different economic models. One is a socialist model and the other is a capitalist model.
Well, you're absolutely right. And we saw that federally, where the Morrison government decided that they didn't want to have climate change, net zero on the agenda, so they signed up to it and then they lost because they couldn't actually argue about the most important issue in that election, which was cost of living. And obviously energy prices are a huge factor in that. Professor Plimer, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you.